and they give us a brief introduction of anything they would like to discuss at the beginning of the program while I go ahead and share the live with everybody else. So let's start, ladies first. Dr. Triffy.
Ladies first. Well, thank you for the invitation, Dr. Simone. Good evening, everybody. I am looking forward to a wonderful conversation with the three of you. Hi, Lambert. How are you?
Yes, okay. So that was Dr. Triffy's introduction. Alex.
Excited as always to be here with two of my favorite people, persons, women, and my brother Lambi. I've not seen Lambi in a while. I want to say thanks to Mr. G and the entire staff and team of Q95 as well for this wonderful opportunity to be here to have a discussion. I think that's going to be very worthwhile having. So I look forward to it.
Yes, absolutely. So let me just click share so that folks can join us on this program. So again, thank you for being here, Dr. Triffy and Alex, and for being a part of this program. We have a lot to unpack this evening. So again, it is great to be with you for our number one program for featuring the people, the organizations, and the new and ongoing projects and initiatives which are geared towards moving Dominica forward, and for also looking at what changes are needed to advance Dominica, especially as it relates to securing financial opportunities, because we have to continue to work to convert our passion for Dominica into action for Dominica. We are always grateful to you, our audience, who are listening via the radio, and we look forward to your contribution to the discussion, whether you call in on the radio or you post a comment on Facebook and YouTube at Q95 FM Radio or Push Past 10, and on YouTube at Q95 FM Radio. Don't forget, share the live, share the live. Let everyone know that we are here and we are having yet another engaging conversation. We remain grateful to Mr. G and the Q95 FM Radio family for the opportunity to come here to tap into our human resources and reverse that brain drain that has been impacting the Caribbean and Dominica as well. Lambi, thank you for being here on the console as always. Our engineer Sherwin Norris and DJ Shan, who works diligently in the background. And don't forget, for the best in daily programming, keep it locked to Q95 FM Radio and Q95DA.com. So if you're just joining us again, welcome to Roots Connections on Q. Today we are asking the question, how are we using our literary works, our books and publications to preserve and advance our culture and to advance us as a people, especially for the benefit of our upcoming generation? So Dr. Trippy and Alex, let us begin the conversation this evening by drawing on your expertise in psychology and political science to first take a look at the state of Dominica today. So I think that is a good place to start. So for example, Dr. Triffy, in the recent incident where we saw the double murder, the unfortunate double murder of the owners of Culibri Ridge, why is it that for some of us, a public road is simply a public road to be accessed by everyone. But for others, it becomes an obsession that they simply cannot let go of. So let's draw on your expertise this evening to just get a general sense of the state of Dominica right now.
I want to start by saying I feel so sad about that event. I'm really wanting to express my condolences to the family and the community, because the community seems to have been very connected to the family. You talk about what is this about? What is this about that a public road that people have used for decades, if not longer, becomes an obsession? I think Dominica is tied as a people with an idea of Nati well. Nati well is unconditional love for yourself and for other people. animals too. So we're always looking to help somebody else. We're looking to invite the stranger into our homes. We cook for them. We leave extra food for them. That's the
Mhm.
idea of Well. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that we are inviting many new Dominicans in who have not yet been socialized to the idea of Dominica. But I think the onus is on us to educate people that this is how we are, and to definitely appreciate the value of who we are. Number one, because if you appreciate the value of who you are as a people, then you're going to feel very comfortable expressing that to new Dominicans as they come. Because yeah, this right here is very, very dark and very, very not Dominican.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, interesting how disciplines can merge. Because Dr. Triffy actually spoke about it from a psychological point of view. Me, in terms of the emerging cultures of Dominica, we have our culture has shifted, our political culture has shifted, and Dominica's mainstream culture is evolving. We have other groups of people who have been introduced to the culture, and what Dr. Triffy said, we should kind of try to teach them the Dominican way, the thing that make us unique, which is tough, especially when people come with their own ideas, their own ideas, their own money, their own ambition, their own greed, their own selfishness, their own attitude, their own mania. So to preserve what is truly Dominican when people are coming with what they truly are, it's going to be tough. So policies must be put in place. The family becomes a major factor. The societal group continues to be well a major mainstay, and the Dominican way generally, which seem to have been lost with within the political divide that we have experienced in Dominica, especially over the past decade or two. So there are a lot of competing variables against that thing that we know ourselves to be, and other cultures are emerging and probably would dominate Dominican mainstream culture eventually. The culture of money, the culture of materialism, the culture of possession, etc., etc., etc. So it's going to be tough, Dr. Triffy and Dr. Matthew, for us to maintain our Dominicanness in an evolving Dominica, but we can't surrender Dominica to the whims and fancies of people who have their own idea of what life should be. I mean, we don't kill people like that for because of issues of a main road. I mean, we can make our little deba or little mepui, but it ends there.
Mhm.
So that's a new thing, and probably it calls on people like you and Dr. Triffy and Dr. Matthew to, first of all, see where we are and see what we can do about switching things around a bit, because we may lose our identity as Dominicans if the right policies are not put in place to safeguard what is truly Dominica.
Mhm. And I'm
Absolutely.
very happy that you said that, Alex, because you make a very valid point and one that I had not thought of as yet. That bringing in new people with the sale of the passports and the citizen by investment program, that is potentially introducing new cultures to Dominica. So it begs the question, what are the pros and the cons of these new cultures? Because like you eloquently said, Alex, we might give somebody a piece of mepui for infringing on our property, but I have yet to heard of the brutality that we saw happen in terms of land disputes in Dominica. Dr. Trippy, any thoughts on that?
Look, Alex, I really appreciate what Alex just said. It made me think about the rigorous entry we had to experience becoming Americans.
Mhm.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is painful. And within that painful process, you are forced to learn about the culture, about the politics, about the system, what is going to be required. Yeah. And I don't know that we have thought that far to include that in part of our acculturation process as we open the doors to many new citizens. So we're asking people to come. We're asking them to come, but we have to. What are they coming to? Are they coming to, just like Alex say, just dominate? And the thing is, the force of money is powerful, and the force of certain cultures is powerful. Yeah, but so there must be that that depends on how you view yourself, though. If I think I'm valuable and I'm worthy, then when you come into my space, I want to teach my process. I want to teach you about me.
Yeah.
Yes, I make that a part of your coming into my space. But if I don't put any barriers, not barriers, but challenges, yeah, again, the way we have to experience it when we move to Canada, when we move to the US,
Yeah.
yeah,
In
you're asking, you're inviting a bigger force. You're already inviting an innately stronger force than you into your space, and you're not doing anything to socialize them to your system. That is not going to end well.
for us. No.
Not for us, no, because and from what we're hearing, many of the local people were in a lot of pain and
Yeah.
suffering from their interactions with these people, with this couple. So, and I don't know that anything was done about it seriously. It should have been addressed. Like
Yeah,
from
yeah, and I want to come to you, Alex, but it also speaks to, as I always think of myself as Dominican. Doesn't matter how
Mhm,
long I've been in this country, but
mhm,
I think when you have the opportunity and the privilege of being invited to reside in somebody else's
mhm,
country, to
mhm,
me, that comes with a certain level of respect. And I think when, for example, we see Jonathan's wife being completely disrespectful to another fellow, we consider him a Dominican because Daniel and his partner, for all that they contributed, were in fact Dominicans after living in Dominica for so many years. To see
mhm.
the level of disrespect, to me, it speaks to a level of disrespect for the country. Because as
Absolutely.
someone who I still consider myself a foreigner in this land, there's a certain level of respect that I hold for the United States. And I
Yes,
just found it completely unbelievable that someone felt so entitled to
that's the
be
word.
able to disrespect somebody, the Dominican man, the man who was standing outside of the car, as well as Danielle, who we consider Dominican, to the point where she had her dogs ready to attack. So,
Mhm.
so I think when we invite people to our country, we have to remind them that there are laws that apply to them as foreigners that have to be obeyed as well. So that begs the question, Alex, and I want to hear your comments on everything that you're thinking of as well. Despite the many complaints, and if you're just joining us for the beginning of the program, we're just looking at the state of affairs in Dominica right now. But Alex, despite all the complaints, it seems like the laws, there was preferential treatment because the guy who committed the murder was clearly a participant in the CBI program. So, what are your thoughts on that? Is there preferential treatment for certain classes of people in Dominica? And should we be concerned?
Yes, yes and yes. They are preferential citizens, and they are different kind of treatment for different people based on your socio-political positioning, and that has been the case, especially of late, and that is sad. I think there is a particular glorification of wealth, what some people refer to as wealth money, and
Mhm.
people who have it and people who can dish it out are the ones who are seemingly getting, well, not all those with money, but the people with money who are supporting those who want the support from them based on their money. We're talking politics now. So they are the ones who are seen as as favorite citizens. And that's a problem. And it goes right back to the question of how have we organized Dominica? And Dr. Triffy said, and you, of course, and can attest to that, Dr. Simon and Dr. Matthew, that living out of America, out of Dominica, you have to identify with the mainstream culture of the place that you're living in. You don't even have to be a powerful nation to establish yourself. But there is no particular organization as to what makes us Dominican. I can ask Lambino, what makes you Dominican? Lambi going to give me a good answer. I'll ask you, Dr. Matthew, you're going to give me a good answer. I can ask Dr. Treefy, you're going to give me a good answer, but none of our answers are going to synchronize with each other. I can sit now and tell you what makes an American, the spirit of invincibility, that we are American, we can do the unimaginable. What makes us Dominican? Maybe CO, but that's not it for me. It might not might be that, it might not be that for Lambie, and certainly not for Dr. Treefy and you. We will all have different reasons, which are good reasons, but there is no identifiable set of ideas that define us as a people. We need to do that. Until and unless we do that, which should have been done since independence, we are in trouble, because our identity is just so fluid and mixed and anything goes. It's like, okay, so what? We have a kind of don't care attitude about us, which makes us unique, but it doesn't make us strong. So we just need to find a way to organize our country. Somebody must write an essay or come up with a policy like Lee Blanc tried, that identify us as a people of culture and agriculture. And we stand by it, but we have lost almost everything that defined us as a people. The last I hear is that the Botanic Gardens is going to be used for a venue where people will be using glittering balls at night, whatever it is. I mean, dangling, glittering balls. I mean, the garden should be used for what the purpose the garden was established for, to preserve our flora and fauna. To put an edifice of concrete infrastructure in the gardens is just really, putting more concrete on top of on top of the nature that we were created as. So I'm saying all of that to tease you, Dr. Treefy and Dr. Matthew, about doing something about identifying us as a people, so we won't be used and trampled over by people who come to our space and enforce their ideas and their ways on us. I mean, I'm talking about ways and ideas across the board. So I think problem number one, government policies, cultural norms, community spirit that speaks to the unique people that we are. Peaceful, friendly, loving people who will help each other out through adversity, who will have a good argument or good debate, but after it all, we cook in a broth. And
Natty well.
Yeah.
And I think we're on the brink of just that natty well spirit just evaporating. I think it's become very hard for people to walk in that way and to live in that way. And we have to return to a place where so we're facing challenges, right? You have this, it's an assault. You have an assault on what is Dominican. Well, as a Dominican, we have to decide, what are you going to do? What are you going to do to protect yourself? The onslaught is going to keep coming. So how will I come back at it? And because of the way that life has evolved, the kids are no longer necessarily sitting, at the side of the road. They're inside on their phones and this and that. We have to figure out how to do that so that we don't just lose the little grease. Yeah, that's been keeping us together.
Yeah, and it speaks to what we want to discuss next, which is the shifting of our culture. Is our culture in Dominica shifting? And if so, in what way? And what is contributing to the shift in our culture? Alex already started talking about the SIWA culture that we're seeing now in Dominica, the culture of immediate gratification, right? It's about looking forward to the next SIWA, the next action, the next party. He talked about the how fluid our culture is. So what does that speak to when we talk about a fluid culture? Because as far as I know, we need solid ground to stand as a people. So if we have a fluid culture where we're simply blowing with the breeze, what are the implications of that fluid culture? And I can tell already that we're going to have a very engaging conversation, because Viva Mamo is saying that that factor is always overlooked. We often focus on the economic and political impact of the CBI program, but the impact is deeper socially and otherwise. And that is in fact true. So while we're focusing about the economic impact, we're not focusing on the cultures of the people that are coming to our island. So how is our culture shifting? And what are the implications of that shift? So anyone can go first.
You
Go
want to
ahead,
go?
Alex.
Okay, so boy, fluidity of our culture. What is that? It's like a candle in the wind.
Yes.
And you have gentle breeze, you're fine. But whenever the breeze and the wind turns up, that candle is going to go out. That is the best analogy that I can come up with to speak about the kind of fluidity of the culture that we have experienced in Dominica. There was a time in the mid 1960s when when um, Edward Oliver LeBlanc felt that we were losing ourselves and our identity. And it was under his watch, through his government policy position, that he created a cultural renaissance. Back in the day, in the 60s, coming out of the 50s, we know what happened during the 1950s with the civil rights movements, late 50s into the 60s. This was a very tumultuous time for the world. And Edward Oliver LeBlanc, a little premier of a very tiny country, felt that we need to do something to stabilize the people. And that's what he did with the framing and the marketing, the preserving of our culture, which we still experience today. But it has been since 1967. What has been done since then to seriously maintain on that tradition? Not much. Not much. So, what we need to do is probably to look back while we move forward to see what we can do now. Because another 10, 15, 20 years of this, I am not too sure that a single Dominican idea will be identifiable. Because it is quite rightly said that Viva Mambo, that there are so many other people who own a piece of the citizenship. And I think I heard Dr. Triffy or somebody spoke about the different values of citizenship. The people who purchase the passports, citizens are higher ranked than my citizenship. Because you know what? They have pepesh. They have more, and they have more influence over my policymakers than I, who was born on the island. So I think there are different tiers that comes with the citizenship program, especially those who buy the what passport, Lambi, the not the VIP, the diplomatic passports. Those two even enjoy a higher echelon of citizenship, I think. So I honestly believe there are different tiers of citizenship, and the natural born Dominicans, I think, are at the lower tier when it
Absolutely.
compared to the other citizens, with other Dominican citizens that we have.
I mean, that's hard. That's hard to disagree with because we have to be adults about this. Yeah. Social psychology says the man with the money, yeah, somebody's going to give that person some kind of preferential treatment. Yes. And we have created this. We have Nobody told us to go do it, but we created this artificial group of new Dominicans who, because they have so much money, they can influence so much. And it might not always be in our best interest, as the story of the gentleman in Soufriere shows us. Yes, some people come in for our best interest, and some will not be coming in for our best interest. They'll be coming in for their best interest. But if there is a strong enough force in the island, within the island, I know we are small, but we held on for a long time. If there's a strong enough force, that can that force can withstand the onslaught, but that force has been tattered. It's been tattered. It's shredded. Yeah, it's very disorganized. People are not that natty well vibe is not there anymore. That looking out for each other is not there anymore, not as strong as it used to be. And you're going to need something like that to take in the brunt of what's coming in. It cannot just be about money. Yes, we appreciate the fact that there's more money in the coffers or whatever, but money is a thing. Money is air. Money is going to disappear at a certain point, especially since a lot of that money has not been used to generate new money, as in create a factory that'll keep generating money. So it's like the money is finite. It's going to end,
Yeah.
but at what cost? At what cost? And we're paying the price already. We're seeing it. And in a way, I think like a lot of people are just kind of watching the accident happen. Like your mouth is wide open and you're watching the accident in slow motion happening. Yeah. And people have taken their sides. They're like, well, just hold on long enough. It's going to be okay. Hold on long enough. It's going to be okay. But there's so much fallout in the meantime that must be addressed responsibly. See, okay, so this is what's happening. Let us set policies. Yeah, think about it. What policies can we put in place so that we can manage this flood that's coming, down the river? But, I mean, I don't know what to do about that. I think enough people have spoken up about this. I'm not sure that they're being heard. I think people are highly emotional about any voice that sounds different than theirs. And so they're not seeing what you're seeing, or at least if they're seeing it, they're avoiding it. And we will all pay the price.
What they're seeing it.
We'll all pay the
Yeah,
price.
yeah, but in the interest of having a balanced conversation, because I always want to make sure we're having balanced conversations on this program, I think we're seeing examples of where foreigners' values may not align with our cultural values, but aren't we seeing that these foreigners are coming in as role models of how to be enterprising, how to be creative with setting up business opportunities? So is that some of the pros that we're seeing? Because I want to make sure that we're looking at the pros and the cons as we talk about the implications for our culture as foreigners are allowed to become residents in Dominica. Alex?
Well, of course, there are pros because the people who take up residency on our island, of course, albeit using our assets, passport to do so, they are showing us that people can be very successful and people can thrive tremendously from what we have. And we have homegrown Dominicans as well who are showing us that it is possible. I mean, you cannot not mention the Nassifs, even my dear friend Sam Raphael. They have the protocols that they use to create the business, but they have used it. Now, some may say we don't have the same privileges as these guys, and that may be so. But we see people thriving in Dominica at different levels. What about the people who are doing the sewing businesses, the Haitians, and the people who are doing the haircuts, the barbering, the people who are doing the bus service, people who are doing agriculture? So at every different level, people are learning to thrive in a system where we are not learning. Well, we are not thriving. The question is why? It might be a political response, a sociological response, a psychological response, a spiritual response, but we have to find out why. Why can people who were not necessarily born here move to Dominica and do so well? Is it a political problem? How are we going to solve the problem? How have we tried to solve the problem? What next? So these are questions I'm just putting out there because people are doing well, some, while most people in Dominica seem not to be doing as well. So you ask questions, Simone, but from questions come more questions.
More questions.
Yeah.
Dr.
Look,
Triffy?
yeah, my thoughts on this are this. You have new people coming in, yes, and they're thriving because these people are coming from cultures where they're dealing in higher level technologies than the people on the ground have ever been exposed to. So it's not a fair fight. It's not going to be a fair fight. Access to resources, money, it's not going to be a fair fight. Yeah, they've learned strategies, systems to make business grow. The people have not yet. They don't. A few families, like you mentioned, have learned. But I don't think the competition is going to be fair. And so we
Absolutely.
about
Go
it,
ahead.
and deal with. I read a little post from a young man who said something that hurt my heart yesterday. He said, I know you all are talking about Dominica is this great country, but I feel so much rage that I was not born elsewhere. because I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
That I find to be the case. A lot of people feel that sense of despondency, hopelessness, and a lot of people have pretty much given up. Many people have given up. I mean, the work that I've done have proven that people have just felt that it makes very little sense even trying. And that is what we have to fight to get our people not to give up, because the last I checked, Dominica is like about the most amazing bit of real estate that's remaining on this earth. So some people might be saying, but you call Dominica great, but I don't feel it. And that is some people's reality. In fact, I think the majority of people that I speak to are now facing that reality. The last time I was on the island, I met a teacher who was fixing to leave. She said, Alex, I live in with my daughter. I can make it. I can, but I just don't feel as if I belong in this place. I know at least 8 people right now I can tell you who moved from the west coast area of Dominica to Antigua and are living there against all odds, but trying to make it happen. So yes, Dr. Trifi, many people feel that sense of hopelessness, that sense that I don't belong, that I should be a particular political dispensation or order for me to make it, and I refuse to. So I'm
Mhm.
just going to stay in my corner, and I agree that's how it is.
Mhm.
That we have to fight against. That
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we have to continue to be concerned about the shifting culture of Dominica, because as Dave Bertrand is saying on Facebook, he says even today an American with our CBI passport was stopped with a briefcase of a high-powered gun and ammunition at the airport.
yeah.
Right? And it begs the question, well, where are you going with that high powered gun? And what is your purpose of having that gun with you? And you're carrying a Dominican passport. You know, it was to the point where a couple of, maybe about a year ago, there was this post circulating going around of this movie, and it was of this criminal couple. And when you look in their briefcase, what do you see? A Dominican passport. And I'm not saying what I heard, I'm telling you what I saw with my own eye. So it begs the question, how is the world perceiving us? And why, of all the passports in the world, would that criminal couple in a movie be carrying Dominican passports? I mean, to me, that was just completely heartbreaking. So I think on many levels, we have reasons to be concerned about this shift in culture, and this whole culture about SEWO, and the culture where we seem to be devaluing life, where we have these young men who are taking up guns and just, killing each other for apparently no reason, or reasons we don't understand. So I think we have a lot of concern with that. But I want to thank you, Alex and Dr. Trifi, for bringing your expertise to bear on the state of Dominica today. And this is the reason that we have you on the program today, because both of you have recently written books that impact on the culture of Dominica. And so we want to talk about your books and how you are contributing to preserving and advancing our culture through your literary work. So we'll start with Alex this time. So tell us the name of your book, Alex, and tell us why you decided to put pen to paper now at
Oh,
this
all right.
time.
Okay. Well, my book is titled Dame Eugenia Unedited. Um, as the name implies, it's an interview that I did with the Dame Eugenia in 1999, never been released, where we spoke at length for 2 hours about her life in the politics of our country and in general on, on earth. So for ever so long, I've been looking at the interview, and I felt now would have been a good time, because it is we have need for a rebirth. And a lot
Mm.
of what Dame Eugenia said in the interview ring true today. The idea behind this book is to begin a series of not just one, but like 6 books, because I'm going to actually document the life of every prime minister. The second book I'm going to do is on Patrick John, and then we move on to, I think, Mr. James. And I think the seventh book in this series will be our current prime minister. I guess by the time I'm done with the series, he might not be in office, or he might still be. You never know what is his plan for what appears to be his country, but we'll determine that when the time is right to write his piece. So I'm looking at a series of books about leaders called the Dominican Political Leadership Legacy. And in those books, I'm trying to identify what would have been the legacy of the individual prime ministers of Dominica. So Damiu Jr. is the first leader. And the book, I think, is exciting. I just actually uploaded the audio version of the book. And if you will have me play something from it, I would be more than happy to do so.
Yes, certainly. You can go ahead.
Narrated by Tanya, my dear sister. So that book is futuristic, because I think right now most people in the business are not really interested in understanding what created the business, because it is Damiu Jr. who almost single-handedly put the apparatus in place to shift the power and to dilute and to cut the barrier, the ideological barriers in our politics. Today, we have a power sharing arrangement that pretty much can be credited or traced back to her. So we are nice to her, we are gracious as well, but it is also good to analyze to see where things started. And it was under her watch this coalition government came to play, and we no longer have what she put together, but the remnants of it have created and mushroomed into something that she today, had she been around, she would not have identified. I certainly think Damiu Jr. would not be very happy with what is taking place in the government that she pretty much had a hand in putting together.
Yes, and that was my next question to you. What do you think would be her thoughts on what is going on in Dominica, the state of Dominica today? What would have been her thoughts on where we are as a country and a people?
Totally dismayed, bothered, and absolutely disgruntled about what would have happened. I mean, she had great hopes about what was being developed, because remember, I spoke to her in 1999, and her principle came through. I mean, she is unapologetic, and I say is because to me, she lives in her work. Unapologetic, uncompromising. She was brutishly conservative. She believed in certain values. She was ideological as well, and ideology politics is good, because if someone stands for something, you know what they stand for, you hold them to it. Our present leadership have no defined political ideology, but just what works. You call it popularism, and in popularism is whatever works for me, whatever works for my legacy and my ambition. Damiu Jr. believed in certain things, and you would expect her to not do certain things. Rosie Douglas believed in certain things. He was a socialist. He believed that the community should raise the child, people should fend for each other, and government has a role to play in assisting people's lives. Patrick John was not quite a socialist. He was a socialist kind of democratic, a mixed bag. And he believed in the empowerment of individuals. So all these guys had something that they stood for. I'm not too sure what our present leader actually stands for right now, besides safeguarding a legacy, which I will deal with when the time comes, and maintaining a sort of popularism, immersing and emerging powers in and around him. Damiu Jr. would have been frowning today had she been alive. And she was a freedomite, and I heard our present Prime Minister pontificating that he's a freedomite, even claims that he's the leader of the Freedom Party, which is something else, another conversation that we can have some other time. But the short answer to that is, had the dame been here, you would have been hearing her voice about what is happening in Dominica today.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Alex, go ahead and cue up the audio that you have while we go over to Dr. Triffitt to tell us, why was it important, the name of your book, and why was it important to write this book at this time in history?
Okay, so I'm gonna show you what the book looks like. Right. On the cover is a drawing of my grandpa on my mother's side, Grandpa Justin. So I wrote this book because In the Powerball, personally,
First, the name of the book for our
the
listening
name of the book
audience.
is Powerball. What is a Powerball? Powerball is a Creole word for parable. And our people have historically kept the wisdom in the Powerball. I wrote the book because I hope that young men, like the one who posted yesterday about not feeling Dominica, have something to read, something to refer to. We're a people of stories, but we tend to tell our stories orally. Well, we've got to move with the times and document things. Use the technology of the time to convert the information into what can be accessible to people now. I have a call out to Dominicans. Whatever your field is, write about it and reference Dominica. Yeah. Eh, what is so special about Dominica? I know we're talking about the parts where we're really in suffering, but we're still, I think, on the tail end of a people who created a centenarian culture. Yeah. 2003, what were we? Like the Dominica posted the second highest number of centenarians per capita. I mean, a little island like Dominica, the people they found a way to live in such a way that they created a good life for a long time. And I think that a lot of their wisdom is encapsulated in the Powerball. We tell it to each other. Some of us can understand it, some of us cannot. Some of us are still learning how to write Creole, which is the language of our ancestors. I'm learning to write Creole. I had a lovely um, person send me behind the scenes some proper spellings for some of the words, but I really I didn't care. I was giving it my best shot. Not that I didn't care. I think you've got to do the best you can today. Tomorrow we can revise, we can make changes, but do your best today, forget the rest. I think it's just so important for us to document the medicines of Dominica. Huh? Bushman, I'm ready for a book from people like Bushman. You understand?
He's on the Facebook Live.
Yeah.
He's on. The music, people like Ra. Yeah, we need documentaries on these things, not just, yes, I'm just telling you, oh, I remember so and so, and I remember so and so. If it wasn't documented, this is one thing I've learned from my profession. If it was not documented, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And you don't want other Dominicans or strange people, foreigners, telling your story. This is your story. Yeah. So when I come to America, I don't tell Americans what America is. I come and I learn about America from Americans. I think we have to do that and understand it's our responsibility to do it. Or else other people will come and tell you who you are. And that is just not the Dominican I was raised and trained to be. Yeah, I know Alex said, well, who are you as a Dominican? I mean, for me, Dominicans have been proud people, self-sufficient people, and people who exist in a state of brotherhood and sisterhood. Yeah, as evidenced by the Natiwell principle. Yeah, and if you don't understand what is Natiwell is not like, yeah, the love you feel for your spouse. Yeah, or your brother who you are kind of indebted to, like you kind of have to love your brother. It's a love outside of that. It's agape love. It's a bigger love. Yeah, where you welcome strangers, yes, but you also take care of your own. We're taking care of our own first, and it's not just about me. And if my stomach is full, I'm okay. No,
Oh boy.
I would feel ashamed if my stomach is full and there are hungry people around me. See, that's Dominican.
That
And
was that was Dominican.
That was
I
Dominican.
believe it still is. And our job, it still is because I still have the information.
Yeah.
And so our job is to bring that now to the fore, to remind people about who they really are versus who they've been instructed suddenly to become.
Become.
That is not who you are. You're playing a game. You're acting out a role. You're being caricatured. You're like a cartoon character right now. But that is not who you are. This is who you are. Right there. This is who you are.
Yeah.
And get yourself in order. You know? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and for our listening audience, I know that many people listen to the radio instead of being on Facebook. So, of course, if you're on Facebook, you can see the book. But for our listening audience, what I went and did, what I did earlier today, is I put all the links to Dr. Triffy's book, Alex's book, and two other books that we will be discussing this evening. So all you need to do is go on www.pushpast10.com. And if you scroll towards the middle of the page, you will be able to just click on the link and be able to order this book. So again, www.pushpast10.com. If you would like to see the books that we are talking about this evening, if you would like to get a copy, I mean, it's Christmas season, get a copy for yourself and get a copy for a friend, family member. And I think, Dr. Triffy, it is so important that you are documenting these Powerballs because it is the essence of our culture,
Yes.
right? It is what speaks to who we are. And I just think it goes back to us being able to express where we came from and the references we had. Because, for example, one of my favorite Powerballs is I sukwe saku lau van chabon. So that speaks to a time when people used to sell coals in bags, which we no longer do, but it captures
Yes.
that time in history where folks would go around selling coals in bag. But it also tells us an important parable that when somebody gets you angry, you should go and have an argument with them
Yep.
and don't come and vent your rage on me because I was not the one who got you angry. So when you listen to the essence of parables like I sukwe sakula van chabon, it does more than one thing. It captures our history, but it also captures what we're trying to say to someone in not so many words. So I want you to go ahead and share some of the parables in the book that you have. And Arthur, Alex, I'm not sure if you have that audio tuned up and ready to go.
I'm ready whenever you're ready.
Yes, go ahead. Dr. Chief, get us some at least three very good ones.
Yes,
All right.
ma'am.
Yeah, what again, and Dr. Triffy is amazing. She's calling on people to take action based on their discipline and their expertise. My discipline is politics. So I would always write books on politics. I think it's important to know what the leaders, what the people who had been involved had done. Some of us in the present time may not really be quite interested, but it is necessary for the next generations to understand how we got where we are today. And the lady that I wrote about and I have analyzed, and whose work I have analyzed, is certainly one of the major players as to how we got to where we are. Mark you, that is not what she created, but we benefit now from the remnants of the work that she did. So I want the listeners to hear a little bit about Dame Eugenia, who she was, and the people who believe when people die, their work dies. No, her work continues, and it is a living testimony today. So, an introduction of Dame Eugenia as narrated by Tanya Green. So, I'm going to play it, and I hope you grab the audio.
Is it playing? No, we're not hearing Alex. Are you playing it from your cell phone?
No, I'm playing from the computer. Should
No,
I
no.
share? I
Maybe
should
try
share.
to play it from your cell phone and hold the cell phone to the speaker of the computer.
What if I share the screen? No.
Or share the screen.
Yeah, try to share the screen.
Yeah. All right. Let me share the screen.
Because I'm going to share the screen with the website as well.
Yeah, share screen.
Yeah.
All right. Share screen. All right. Um, where is it?
So while Alex is doing that, of course, if you tuned in a little bit late, we are talking about how are we using our literary works to preserve and advance the culture, to preserve and advance our culture and to advance us as a people, especially for the benefit of our coming generations.
So I think I'm sharing now.
No, we don't see anything, Alex. I think the best thing might be to click on it on your phone
Okay.
and just play the audio from your phone. So try that for now. So Dr. Chifi, let's come back to you. So
Yes.
three of the top parables in the book.
Okay, I'm gonna save my one about the Zandoli for last because I
Okay.
like about the Zandoli. Okay, this one is Patiwe Bude Kumete Pie. Don't remove your intestines to replace them with straw. This parable means that it is vital to maintain what is valuable and what is important. Do not remove what is of substance and worth to replace it with something of lesser value. You might not know if it's lesser value, but I think when you're living your life on principle, when you're living your life on principle, you're more likely to make wiser choices. Yeah, I know nobody's perfect and we make mistakes sometimes. Sometimes things are shiny and they look like, okay, okay, okay. But if I'm remembering, for example, to stick to my roots, to stick to what is good for me, I'm less likely to make mistakes. And life is a kind of thing that when you see you make these mistakes, sometimes it's hard to come back from certain mistakes. Yeah. As we welcome new Dominicans in, and we're looking at them like shiny objects because they have enough spare change, to spend 100,000 US, 200,000 US. Hmm? We have to also consider the rest. You have to consider what else is coming with that. Yeah. And are you going to put these people over your Dominican people? Party we boudin, the people who sat on the school bench with you. Yeah. Who gave your mother a little change when she was broke, when you were small, but you didn't know about it. Yeah. Don't just disregard your people for the new shiny objects. We appreciate them, yes. And
Yeah,
what
and don't abandon your core values for the
don't.
values of other people who maybe value material things and
Yes.
money to the
And
detriment of what?
yes, know what you have and value it and live from that. Every place has their ethos, their set of values, they're who they are. Why do you want to become like these people who will kill for land? You know, who will there are people right now who are, I mean, the amount of machinations I'm hearing about in Dominica for people who have become swift for other people's properties. It has gone out of control. Out of control. So let
Give
me
us
start.
another one.
Another one is Sizandolite Bonviani Padeka Dwive Asibaye. That's the one I wanted to go with last, but what does that mean? If the lizard was prized meat, if everybody was going in Astafan and buy Zandoli, there you would not be able to find no Zandoli or no fence. No, yeah. So what does
I,
that mean for you? My mom said that to me when I was a teenager because she didn't want me to become boy crazy. She said, hold yourself, hold your virtue, understand who you are, and don't just make yourself be so accessible to everybody. There's a book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. And in the book, he says that you can actually use scarcity to create value. You see that in business. Yeah, you see that in business. So the message of that little Powerball in that little funny saying is, man, value yourself well enough to not just have yourself here, there, and everywhere for people to take advantage of you, use you for their benefit. Hold yourself, treat yourself well so other people can treat you well. Yes. Mm.
yeah, and it goes right back to everything we're talking about, standing on your principles.
No,
standing
you
on your
are.
principle. But what are our core principles in Dominica at this point? Have we lost our way? And it also begs the question, how many of our young people have been exposed to the parables that we're talking about today? Because in my mind, those are some of the guiding principles of my own life.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So there's great value in this,
Absolutely.
but I'm just wondering if we're continuing to pass this down to the next generation so they to get a sense of the values that we uphold for our culture. Alex, were you able to get the audio? You're muted.
Yeah, I think we can try again.
Let's try.
Let us see. About the Dame. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Yes.
Dame Mary Eugenia Charles, Prime Minister, lawyer, politician, and journalist, who died in Martinique on Tuesday, 6 September 2005, was born on May 15, 1919, at Point Michel village on the southwest coast of Dominica. She was educated at the Convent High School in Roseau and the St. Joseph's Convent in Grenada. She read law at the University of Toronto and was called to the bar at the Inner Temple, London in 1949. She began private practice in Dominica that year. She wrote anonymous articles for the Herald and later the Star newspapers that were highly critical of the ruling Dominica Labour Party, the DLP. When the government reacted, she was in the vanguard of those who founded the Dominica Freedom Party, the DFP, in 1968, following demonstrations against the passing of Seditious and Undesirable Publications Act in July by the DLP, then under the premiership of E.U. LeBlanc. She failed to win the Roseau North seat in the general election of 1970, contesting against Patrick John, but entered the House of Assembly as a nominated member that year. In the general elections of 1975, she contested and won the Roseau Central seat and became leader of the opposition in the new parliament. She was a delegate at the Constitutional Conference for Independence held at Marlborough House, London in 1977, and was an active spokesperson in the public meetings related to the Constitution in the run-up to independence in 1978. So I'll pause it there. I mean, this goes on. Interestingly, very well articulated, narrated by Tanya.
Mhm.
And people who want to get this book, it's they could just go to the audio or Audible. I think audible.com. And I think you have the link as well. Anytime you put this book, the name of the book is going to come up. And for under $80, you have the entire book in audio. You could listen to the book while you're driving in your spare time. And you'll hear her voice.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask you. Do you have any clips of her voice? Because I think it would be very interesting after all these years of her passing
Oh,
that
yes.
we are able to hear her voice.
Oh, yeah, we have a voice. The interview begins. This long withheld. A lot of talks have been. Hold on.
For a while, but the idea was that they were fearing to move into a place it was safer and they could do something more for themselves.
Even for the purpose of documenting the what we're doing, and I know you don't want to call it one of the 100.
Let me get a clip with her. Hang on.
And we spent a lot of our time there. That's where our grandparents lived. And my father was the only son alive at the time he died. The land went to him. And my father, I was born at Point Michel village. That's where we all made our home. And then my father worked the land. We should go up every morning up the mountain, walking up the mountain to plant coffee. Coffee was the thing that was important in his time. And then when South America took over the coffee market, he went into limes and other things like that. But he also planted a lot of ground provisions. We had very good yams on that estate, I remember that. And he worked hard. He was out of the house before 7 every morning and didn't come back in until 6. And My mother worked hard too. She was working at the land too, as well as looking after the household. Josephine Charles, she born partition too. She was one of 6 sisters. And I remember that when my story we have in the family that my father was courting her. And my grandmother, my mother's mother, asked him when was he going to get serious about it. And he said, when my lime trees blossom, not before. But he had land on the coast going up to Soufriere de Rochelle. Very difficult land. You didn't have any land where you could drive a car to it. You always had to walk almost on all fours to get to it, you know. But he worked hard and he saved, and he knew what was important and what wasn't important.
So yeah, it goes on.
Yes, Alex. This is wonderful to be able to hear Dame Eugenia's voice after so many years after her passing. You know, I think this is very important work that you have done with this publication. So again, remind us, what was the date of this interview?
It was in September 1999.
September 1999. Wow. So that's over 10 years ago.
10?
Yeah.
20?
Well, what?
20?
No. Yes.
20.
That's for 20. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Years
20.
ago.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
released, and she spoke the entire gamut.
Yes.
How the politics started, how she talked about her father, she talked about the entire works.
Wow.
It's important that we spend some time to listen to her. You may not have liked her politics, but she has a story, and her story will at least probably help us to see how things are different. So those people who may not be interested in today, that is there to at least go back to when we do our research and we do all the people who are interested in that part of stuff. That's a treasure trove. I think they'll really enjoy it.
Yeah, and we have to go take the phone calls and engage with our audience. But both for you and Dr. Triffy, have you guys thought of contacting the schools, any organizations in Dominica to get this on the ground? Because I think that is important to have this as part of our literary works in Dominica, because we have it available online, but sometimes it may be difficult for folks on the ground to get access to it. So have you contacted anyone in terms of having these literary works available in Dominica?
To be honest, I haven't, but I welcome marketing geniuses.
Yeah, because what we've started to do, because and I'm not gonna name any names, but we found it very difficult to have our books, because we do some publishing as well. It's difficult to have our books for sale at the major bookstore in Dominica. So we have been making other collaborations, because again, success comes from bypassing obstacles. Just because one institution says no, you don't just take no for an answer. That's right. We have Tazi Didier with us on the Facebook Live, and we want to say a very special thank you to her, because she is the one who, through her store in Dominica, Kids City, 17 Fields Lane, if everybody's interested, has taken it upon her to accept the physical copy of books of Dominican authors to sell. And one of the books that she has recently chosen is our Dominica in Puzzle, Dominic Anew. Yet another way to embrace our culture and an engaging, interactive way to learn more about Dominica. So we want to say a very special thank you to Kids City. Everyone should know where Fields Lane is in Dominica, for collaborating with us, because that is what we need if we are to continue to grow as a people. So yes, the online versions are important, but for people who are in Dominica who also want to get their hands on this book, it is also important to have physical copies on the ground. So Alex, the question goes to you.
No, it's like Dr. Triffy, I haven't. Not because I don't intend to, but I just have not had the privilege of so doing. Since the book came out some time ago, I have only had 2 interviews, one with Dr. Triffy and one with Tony on TDN radio. No one else seemed to have been interested in, I guess.
And here you are. Well, you're not counting me?
No, I'm calling to you, and But that is the state of play right now, where the media, I think when I was media, I would have embrace this opportunity. The Freedom Party, I would imagine, should have shown some interest. They do not seem to be interested. But the work is there, probably not for them, but for those people who might be interested in it. And we will get the book on the ground, make it available to the schools, maybe give all the schools access to the books. That's my plan. And just let the children know what has happened before their time, instead of me telling them, let them hear it from Dame Eugenia herself. And I think in the next decade or so, with this book around, it should make some difference in terms of how we see politics in Dominica.
Yes, and I also want to get the response you've had so far to your books. But Lammy, before you give out the phone numbers, if you're looking at the StreamYard on the computer in front of you, I am trying to share a screen, so you should see like somebody else is trying to come into the conversation. If you could just add the additional screen. I'm not sure if you know how to do that, if DJ Shan or Showin is around. So just add the other screen so that we can share the books on the StreamYard screen in front of you. But what has been the response so far to your books, Dr. Triffy and Alex?
So far, so good. I mean, people seem to be very excited about the book. I'll tell you what, one of the most interesting and fun parts of actually preparing the book was reaching out on Facebook to everybody and asking for their thoughts on parables that they grew up with, and actually invited people to offer me pictures and give me permission to use some of their pictures. And I did. So I try to highlight some of the people who have offered me pictures on my page. It felt a bit like a community event at a certain point, and I really liked that.
Excellent, excellent. Alex, how about you?
Same kind of reaction. Dr. Triffy yourself was one of those people that I share a picture. I've not picked up a copy of your book as Dr. Triffy. I'm gonna do that tonight, so we'll do what we have to do. And the sales have been good as well. People are buying the book. I mean, I see the numbers coming to my bank account, and I'm happy for that. People purchase the book. I hope you continue purchasing it. Because one of the things that I want to do with that particular book is to give a particular amount back in the name of the Dame, a scholarship that I'm going to be doing in her name for law and politics on the island of Dominica. The account is very clear. I mean, Amazon runs the entire account, so the accountant who's going to do it will know exactly how much money is in the pool, and we hope to be able to send a student or two to school sometime in the future to study politics or law, the two areas that Dame Eugenia was involved with. So the more you purchase the book, is the more opportunities you create for someone to.
Yeah, and just before we go to the calls as well, Alex, what would you say is the legacy of Dame Eugenia?
Wow. It's in the book. But in a nutshell, the standing legacy that she really can claim is the fact that she was able to unite two major political ideologies into one and create a new dynamism in Dominica's politics that no one else had been able to do. Back in the day, it was conservative versus liberal. She, by putting Ruzi together with Charles Savary, was able to dilute the divide. I mean, can you imagine the MAGAites working with Biden? It doesn't happen in politics. Dame Eugenia was able to do that. Where today, the redder than red people are the former Greens. That is Dame Eugenia's power. That is her lasting legacy, so to speak. She did other things that people can speak about. But if you want to identify something that really identifies her work in politics in Dominica, is that blurring of the lines between the ideology that created a supermajority today in Dominica without any particular ideology. So that, in the book, I'm saying is one of her lasting legacies. I'm speaking about other things that she did as well, in cooperativism and the reconstruction of Dominica after this disaster of 1979, etc., etc., etc. But these are things that governments are expected to do. You don't really give that as a legacy. And I mean, but in terms of what that lasts and is still lasting and may last for a long time to come, it is that blurring of the political ideological lines in Dominica. And we have to fix it.
Alex,
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, so you say that very nicely as a political scientist. What I hear you saying is essentially she made many labor rights, many freedomites labor rights.
Yes. The biggest, strongest, and the majority of labor rights today are freedomites.
Mhm.
No, I will not say that is Freedom Party in power, but the
Right.
power structure is supported by Freedom. Freedom
Mhm.
Party is very much alive and well in Dominica,
Right.
but you will find them in other stranger places.
Mhm.
That is the Eugenius power that still continues today. Look on the statutory boards and see who are there. They are dressed in red, but they come from the roots of her legacy, of her political ideology. So
Mhm.
that is what I think is her strongest legacy in Dominica. Yes, she may have done some interesting governing policies as well, but that is it to me. And I explain it in the book in terms of what I see a legacy as, a lasting legacy as. Building a bridge, building a house, building apartments, that, I mean, that's development to some extent. But that cannot be seen as a legacy of a leader. It has to be undeniable, almost unchangeable, long lasting, as the creation of the bank, as the creation of social security, as the development of certain things that have changed and transformed lives of individuals. That is pretty much what a legacy would be. And everything is stated in the book, in my analysis of the book at the end.
Yeah, I think Lambi is still trying to work with us to share the screen. So let's take some comments from Facebook in the meantime. And we want to thank our listening public as well as our Facebook audience. Lambi, if it's not an option right now, that's fine. Just let's go ahead and give out the phone numbers so we can have our audience engage with us.
The numbers are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257. Those are all local numbers. The overseas access number 305-432-9624. Let me run those again. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097, 616-4257, and 305-432-9624. We already have a call on the line, so let's take this call. Caller, please go ahead. Overseas line, are you paying attention? Nothing heard. Please go ahead.
Okay, sure. So let's see who we have joining us. So we have our friend David over there in Louisiana. Thank you for being here. Dave Bertrand, Jess Viville, Tazi Delights. Hi, Tazia. Thank you for being here. Janine, Dave Bertrand says the question remains. And take notes, guys, of any questions you want to respond to as we go along. Yes, let's take a call.
Caller, please go ahead now.
Hello?
Yes, caller, your turn. Make your call.
Yes, Lambi. Good night.
Good night.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Tracy. Good evening, Dr. Matthew and Brother Alex.
Hi.
Hello.
Bye.
Yes, my goodness, I was in the kitchen and, just listening to you all. I was like sitting in a classroom. Yes.
Excellent.
So, excuse me. I just want to sympathize with the people who worked, with the couple who were murdered.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to the radio some time ago, and one of the ladies who worked with them for 26 years, she could not contain herself. She was crying, and here I was crying as well. Also, I heard Jeff Bellot was talking about, Sufuye becoming like a white populace, and my mind went to South Africa. When the Europeans went there and bought land, and the people were taking off their land. What is really happening in Dominica? It's pathetic. It blows my mind. I just can't understand. I don't know whether the people have been mesmerized but something has to break.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
Yeah.
we are a people, we are a united people, but the spirit that is over Dominica right now, it causes a lot of division. People are scared to talk. They are not free. I was listening to Laku 2 weeks ago, and there is a certain developer in the Soufriere area. And I asked him, I called and I said, well, do you see the need to, maybe open factories and employ young people? And his answer was no.
Wow.
And he was asked whether he was a millionaire, and he did not answer that question. It is so much going on, and Dominica is a brain drain going on. Can you imagine all of us who have left?
Mm-hmm.
We go back to Dominica. Dominica is going to be on the world stage because we are very intelligent people, and to see what our Dominica is becoming, I do not even know, if anybody would go back home to settle down because things are very, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I also want to ask about the book, Brother Alex. Is your book in print form?
Yes. We have it in print form, we have it in digital form, we have it in audio form. So you choose whichever genre you want.
Okay, how do I get it in print form?
Well, let me tell you the easiest thing to do, which is what we're doing right now, is that we have the links of all the books. They're all available on Amazon. But if you simply,
Okay.
you can go on Amazon and research and type in the name. But if you're having problems, you can also just go to pushpast10 pushpast10.com, and the link will take
I
you
have that.
directly to the Amazon account.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so
Thank you very,
pushpast10.com.
very much for listening to me. My heart is hurting, for my country
Yes,
and
I
my
think for all
people
of
who
us.
are there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for your contribution. And the caller is absolutely correct that, there's a lot going on in Dominica. And that's why we're talking about preserving and advancing our culture. Because if we don't stand for something, we fall for anything. So let's take another phone call on Facebook. We're coming back to you for the comments.
Good evening, caller on the overseas line. Go ahead, please.
Good evening, Dominica. Good evening, the people on the panel.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Timo.
Good evening.
I must say I support Alex with Eugenia Charles. What I admire with Eugenia Charles, her dream really is to have a robust rural development. Eugenia Charles wanted farmers to be on their farm. A matter of fact, car home, all along the road in car home, they had planned telephone posts to put lights. That was her dream. She really wanted to see Dominica move beyond Roseau. But what I admire about Eugenia, although she stayed in office for 3 terms, she never changed from the very first term up to her last term. In other words, we watch the Dominica Labour Party now, where the Labour Party has moved from one occasion to another occasion. What I realized with Eugenia, she never trumped on the right of Dominicans to vote. And in all what we say tonight, the biggest problem we have in Dominica, facing Dominica young people especially, is the right that they don't have to vote. The right that they don't have to express themselves to who they want to choose as their leader. And anytime you take the right of people, they will turn against you. They will do things that is not right. We need to emphasize the right of an individual to choose is very important going forward. We have to emphasize that. God bless Dominica. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Alex, I wanted your quick comments on that because I think we have young people have the right to vote, but it's just that fact of maybe being coerced uh, to one particular, being swayed to one particular side, but they do have a right to vote. So I just want your thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, the caller is right in terms of the Eugenia and the things that she tried to do. As a conservative, she tried to create opportunities, not to give. Conservatives don't believe in giving handouts and government everything you need. They believe in creating the environment.
Enabling an environment.
And that's what she was about. She would never accept this mendicancy situation that we have in Dominica today. She would cry, I think, literally about it. In terms of the right to vote, she also believed that. In fact, the Seditious Act was what occasioned her party. She believed in people's rights as a lawyer, as a barrister. She defended people. Her first case was a case with a man against a woman. She represented the guy, actually, and he won the case. It was a child matter that she won, and she was so happy that she won a case defending a guy, defending a man. So when it comes to the rights to vote, Dame Eugenia was that as well. She would never disenfranchise individuals. In fact, the reform that we just saw took place was pretty much a ratification of the legacy and ambition of the people who administered over it. The reform we're going to see come through Parliament is not going to free up Dominicans and give us fair vote. It is essentially going to legislate on fairness in the process. That's going to be a problem moving forward. I think the people will eventually have their say. But then Eugenia would not do that. She was about fair play. She was firm, frank, unapologetic, but she had a particular ethos that she worked with, a particular discipline when it comes to the governance of a country. You may have been against her if you wanted to. She fired me in the police force in 1990. I didn't like it, but I analyze her work for what it was. So she believed in certain principles that I think has disappeared from governance in Dominica, and the right to vote was one of those things that she held dearly, and she would not have liked how things have gone. And certainly the reform that they say we had, the consultations and all of this thing, were grandstanding, great staging of an event. At the end of the day, when this law goes to Parliament, is going to be game over, benefits the people who brought this thing to the House.
Yes, I think we have a call. So thank you, Alex.
Good evening, caller. Please go ahead with your call.
Thank you, Lambi. Good evening to you, and good evening to the host. Good evening to the guests. Good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
Program and hearing my voice. Alex, Bruno Tekabon, that's a great hero. Eugenia Charles served with honor and served with distinction. And Eugenia Charles always wanted Dominicans to be independent. And she believed in teaching people how to fish rather than giving them a fish. Another thing that I admire with her, she gave an account of every cent of the money that was spent. Eugenia Charles had a track record. She believed in people. She believed in farmers because she always said to the farmers, please diversify. So that was, there's so much good qualities with Eugenia Charles. You know, Eugenia Charles would give from her pocket and nobody will know. You understand? Give from her pocket. She have done so much. May her soul rest in peace. Very great leader. And in fact, when you travel, people still say, are you traveling? Are you coming from Eugenia Charles' country? Because Eugenia Charles was well respected. He was a person of principles and great values. If you were freedom rights and you did something that was wrong, for example, there was a strong freedom right who went to jail. And then he went to Eugenia Charles and he told Eugenia Charles what happened. She said, if you was a freedom right, you would not have gone doing those wrong things. So the best advice I can give you, resign in the interest of the public. Although she knew he was campaigning hard for her, she had a lot of great values that the young people need to know. And I think Eugenia Charles need to be taught in every school. You understand? When people they do so many work and so many things, and the idea everything is just dead with them. I mean, no, we should continue speaking of our great heroes. Thank you, Alex, and God bless.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, caller. Some very good points. So let's grab some comments on Facebook real quick. We have our friend David out there in Louisiana, and he says, I have traveled for many years all over. Every country I traveled to, I went to enjoy the culture, the food, the language, the people, the music. Never went to disrespect anyone. I went to enjoy the culture. I really enjoyed food wherever I went. And he also talks about the beauty of our Creole culture. And he says in our state, we have Louisiana French culture and Louisiana Creole culture. So certainly someone we want to continue to make contact with, because as we continue to develop our Creole culture, our Creole language, we want to reach out to all other Creole languages around the world. And Dave Bertrand says Native Dominicans are the third-class citizens in their own country. So we have to be concerned. Becky John Baptist on YouTube, I too am concerned with the naturalized Dominicans not being taught our culture. Greg Baptist, good evening to you. Carl Kofi James, great to see you. Julie Polidor, Indigenous Bushman. Ownership of our land is more important to us than anything else that's happening in the country. We lose our land, all else is lost. Michael Eunice, great to see you. He says, Alex, you remember when we traveled to Canada with no visa? Okay, I'm going to leave that alone. Alex, that's between you and Michael. Chiquito Thomas, it's all because the opportunity is not across the board for everybody. That's exactly what's going on in Dominica. And this will never stop unless we as people put a stop to it. So let's see who else we have on the Facebook Live. Carl Kofi James says, while some of our innovative people have done well, most of them have had to dig deep. However, some of them have now had to drop off because our economy has not grown as it should have. This is due to the inability of the current governing body to create the enabling and conducive environment for growth. Owen Prosper, great to see you. Mami Saint Jean, Viva Mamo is inviting Clarence Christian to the conversation. So we'll see what happens with that. Cheryl Jolly Prevo agreed. Dr. Wallace Rollout is here. Nice to see you. He says, protect your tribe, protect your tribe. Delia Coffee Weeks, Ma Coffee, nice to see you. Feed the children, even though you vex with their mother. So I think she's talking about yet another Powerball. Pyro Davidson, the efforts of globalization on us and how our very government has exposed us without any form of protection. Let's take from someone we haven't heard from. Ferdinand Lawrence, the Dominica that you once knew is no more. And what is presently is no accident, rather well planned. Viva Mamo says, love that. If it's not documented, it never happened. But a lot has been documented by trained historians that did not happen. Okay, thank you for that, Pyro. You all should consider providing digital copies of your book. I think you have a digital copy of your book, Dr. Truffy?
I'm working on it.
Yes, we're working on it. Tina Bell, great to see you. I'm here but late. Somebody we haven't heard from, Petra Carbon George, good evening. And Petra will be joining us in January with some important work that she's doing in agriculture. So Petra, thank you for being here. Vincent Warrington, South Carolina is here. Sharon, Sam Hill, Desmond, thank you everyone for being here. Sam says, Dr. Triffy said it best. We must write down our history. We can no longer rely on the oral tradition, and certainly if it's not documented, it didn't happen. So let's go ahead and take a phone call.
Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Lambi, Dr. Simone,
Good
Alex,
evening.
Bruno, yeah, and Dr. Margaret, good job, good legacy for the young people, good education, all the young people, you people need to do P95 now, so you can get your country's history. Recently, I am scared to say, Medicine Scared is the best program Rosa ever seen. Mama would be shame Mr. Scary now, or the Rosa, smelling, dirty. It had nothing to do for Rosa. Mama leave Rosa in oil for all you, cushy birth, or you don't fix it, nothing. Rosa is the worst city in the Caribbean, and this guy saying he's writing the best paragraph Rosa ever seen. He's simply the wicked and the evil. Dominica, it's time to wake up and get rid of this guy. You see, Dominica is on the investigation, and everybody soiling the country image everywhere, murders and corruption and criminal, and Dominica is going down the drain. Christmas season, all where you pass is darkness. Everybody saying they don't have money. The broke businesses have nothing, and this guy living lavishly around the world. He's Dubai, he's Tokyo, he's Japan, and the people are suffering. 47 police officers to guard him, his wife, and 2 dogs and his 2 children, and the country has no security. Going, guns going, bullets, people dying. Investors can't get security for their people and for themselves and their property. Time to wake up, Dominicans, and get rid of this guy immediately. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, caller, for really just pointing out so many of the concerns and so many of the battles that we're fighting in Dominica. Thank you so much for that. We have Peter Thomas. Good evening to you, Peter. Carlos Charles, I joined late, but it is nice to see my mentors in conversation. Good job, Dr. Simone. Jennifer Coffey out there in Florida. Nice to see you. Veronica Pascal, locked in with our prominent people of Dominica. Patricia Zamo is watching. Sharon Dorival, very true. So many families have no food to feed their children. Alex and Dr. Triffy, your thoughts on the comments so far?
You know, I'll tell you one thought I have. See, Ipani Sutiwe.
Ipani Vole.
Ipani Vole. And so what the last caller said is important. The people have to say that's enough. This is not working well for me. I get that the 47 police for you works, but it's not working for us because the police station in St. Joseph just got what? Ran through. Yeah, ran through because there are not enough people working there. Look, if there's nobody encouraging the vice, it will stop. We talk about principle. We talk about Mamo. We talk about, you know, that is something that Dominicans used to be known for. You would not get away with wrong. Nobody let you get away with wrong. Nobody became so infatuated with you that they would blow smoke up your parts. Okay? Principle is principle. If the thing is good, it's good. But if it's not working, you got to say it's not working. If it's not correct, it's not correct. So there are a lot of us who need to, I think, just kind of remember who we are, stand up again. A lot of the freedomites, since Alex is talking about freedomites, a lot of freedomites who would not have gone along with a lot of things, I think, need to ask themselves some questions. Yeah, and we have some corrections to make.
Yeah, and again, I am very particular when I make reference to the people.
Alex, before you go ahead, let's just grab a phone call real quick. Keep your thoughts, okay?
Good evening, caller. Please go ahead.
Yes, good evening to you, Lambi. Good evening to the entire panel.
Good evening.
Good evening to all the hardworking men and women of Dominica. I really want to commend your caller just before me with all this pertinent information where, you can see this guy, he's trying his best. And the people of Dominica really need to take heed and listen to this guy. You know, very interesting. I was in Dominica, during the last independence season. And I'm from St. Joseph. So hanging out down Miro one night on my way home, I came across a mentally challenged guy where he was on the ground laying down. So I went ahead to give him some assistance, try to get the ambulance to come to his aid to help him out. Could not get ambulance, but I finally get the police. The police showed up. We tried our best. We get him on board the truck, but disappointingly, the police truck. Can you imagine during the Independence weekend, the police have a pickup. The police from the same St. Joseph police station, they have a pickup moving around. Every time they lock up the engine, they have to go in the hood to get it started. I mean, come on, what is going on? Come on, what's going on in Dominica? I mean, it's really and true. These guys, they just need to go When you hear this man talking this nonsense about Melissa populism was the best, I mean, this is the worst. Dominica is at a crossroad, my brother, and we really need. If there's a time when the people of Dominica need to pray more, is right now because Dominica is sinking under these honorable criminals. We have to get rid of them in order for us to restore pride and dignity to Dominica. Stay blessed and nothing less, gentlemen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, caller. And we say good evening to my mom, Medina Senos, who's just joining us. Thank you for being here. Alex, your thoughts?
Well, so much. I mean, and the program is so short.
I know, we need another one.
Yeah. But again, I'm very wary about blaming the people so much, although it is the sea and for but boy, it is how this system has been organized to manipulate the people. And there are a lot of people in the system who you may think are glamorous and living good lives, but they're not. People who are just existing on the goodness of those people that have them existing, just merely surviving. So I think Dominicans will move eventually, but when Dominicans are moved, they will move. And Dominicans are going to move because Dominicans did move in the 1970s against Patrick John, who was one of the most popular leaders of the Caribbean when he took us to independence in 1978. My grandmother, I remember, Patrick John was the other god that she knew. Shortly after that, Patrick John was the worst person she knew because by then she realized that some other information came to her and she shifted. So Dominicans will shift.
They will. They must.
Dominicans will shift. It's not going to be pretty for those people Dominicans going to shift against.
Yeah.
Going to shift, and I'm not sure it's going to be as peaceful. It could be lawless because I think the law is protecting what has been put in place for too long. So I do not really say bad things about the people because the people sometimes are up against it. But yes, there are some within the system who are pulling the ropes, who are pushing the buttons and the cubes, and they will live to rue the day that they let Dominicans go through the series that
because life does this karmic retribution thing. It must balance the scales. That's the thing. I'm like, when did we forget this? When did we forget this? It must come back around. So you can either on purpose, proactively make the shift, or the shift must happen.
And you cannot, it's inevitable.
It's not going to be pretty if you don't proactively, make the changes. But if that's the way you want it, it's going to come.
But I think it begs the question because, what was different in the 70s that caused that movement against Patrick John versus today? Because in my mind, and of course I listen to Q95 every day to find out what's going on in Dominica, and it just seems to be piling on and piling on and piling on, and Dominicans just seem to be taking everything that is happening to them, and yet we do not see any movement to make that shift that we are talking about. So what was different, and both of you can chime in on this, what was different with the people, our Dominican people back in the 70s, who were so quick to make that change for a government they do not favor versus today when we are seeing so many atrocities? But it just feels like people are complacent, they're docile, they're inactive, they're not motivated to defend for their own causes. What is the difference?
In my mind, Doc, in my mind, the assault was slow and gradual. It was not sudden, right? So the atrocities and the nonsense, the stuff that's not been working for the people, it didn't just come upon them like this. So if something just comes upon you like this, you react with shock, like, what? Oh no, But if you have something coming in slowly with smiles, slowly with smiles and nonsense talk, where again you have there's a group of there that are really like seriously, you've got to read Animal Farm to understand it. Who are just echoing the nonsense, and it takes a while to open your eyes to really investigate, well, what is really going on here? Because if this is so beautiful, I am going to see the results in my eyes. If this system that's been there for so long is so good, has been so good, there will be evidence to my eyes. So at a certain point, right thinking people start looking at evidence, and you're like, well, what I'm seeing here does not make sense. It does not add up. And I cannot continue to go along with it. I think it's been a slow and gradual, the frog being cooked in cold water by gradually increasing the heat.
Before I come to you, Alex, thank you, Dr. Chifi. Before I come to you, Alex, we have a call, but also Sharon Dorival says they were empowered by the Dread movement. Glenda Lavidou says smiles and money. Indigenous Bushman says Dominica is going through what Antigua and Barbuda experienced under the bird regime. Yes. Things will change. We have to not lose focus. Lambi, let's take the call, and then Alex, we're going to come to you.
Caller, please go ahead.
Yes, Lambi. Excuse me. Yes, I want to commend Dr. Tracy for the book Powerball. I think that's the title.
Yes.
Yes. That reminds me of my grandmother. She only spoke Creole, and so we grew up speaking Creole. I'm from Grande, and I'm so happy, that it's being revived, and I think that we need to take it to the school, up to high school, as far as we can go, because that's our language, that's our mother tongue.
Yes.
Like when in days gone by, if you spoke Creole, people would despise you, and they would think that it's only poor people who speak that language. But we are blessed to have our own language. Sometimes you can just switch from English to a Creole, to express yourself, or if you not want another person to understand what you are saying. So I really want to commend her on that, and I am looking forward to buying a book. All right. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Alex, before I come to you very quickly, John Blanchard on Facebook says, remember the same memo you guys are talking about as Dominicans to remove the UWP government at all cost, a government that was working in the best interest of the people. Wish you were still around to see the state of our country under this DLP administration, corruption at its peak, lack of accountability, abuse of state resources, a police state where citizens are trampled upon. And let's just take this comment from Marshall Lawrence as well. He says, good evening, Dominica was designed for alternative ruling party to benefit the fullness of what democracy, though imperfect, provides. Not one party bent to remain, come what may. There must be that governance circle of Dominica to advance further. Alex, your thoughts?
Well, it's true. The callers are very well informed. That's one of the things I find about the Q callers and listeners, is that they're very involved, very informed.
Yes, absolutely.
Very strong contribution. I really have to agree completely with all the callers that I've heard so far. But the problem that we have right now is that there is no identifiable supporting force that drives the movement to save our country. Somebody mentioned it a while ago that the 70s was an era where people were singing songs, Paquiteo, God, no. I mean, and other songs like Mighty Sparrow had Gary's a Wanted Man, Patrick Johnson, Idi Amin. So what the messengers at the time did, they looked at the global issues, the regional issues, and they condensed it into Dominica and threw everything on Patrick John back. So because of what was happening in the world and the tension that was created, Patrick made some mistakes. I mean, he had some unforced errors as well. And everything was used, and the packaging of the messaging was so well done by a central figurehead, our former president, head of state, who was the main agitator. They call him the Ayatollah. So he was like a point person, and the other union leaders who sort of abdicated their role as well became part and parcel. So somehow these people, politicians, were thinking, and they harmonized the message and drove it home until it stuck. They didn't just dance all over the place and everybody trying to be starring. They created a narrative and they sold that for like 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And after that, it was game over.
Game over.
So we need that harmonization of a message that would wake up the people can trust, and the people will react wholesale the same way they're supporting and defending what is there now. The people are ready to turn it over, to shelve it.
Because that is law. That is natural law.
Yeah, yeah, you don't take too much against away from the people who are enjoying the people's power now, because they have done all they could to say, look, it's made that there for you. The others are saying that too. But harmonize it, show me what it is that's at stake. Because they actually showed us losing Dominica. They actually showed us our government selling part of Dominica, our government dealing with communists, our government dealing with people in questionable positions. And it was harmonized.
Alex, and I remember in growing up in Cottage, we had a little place we called Mont Soleil, and they would come with a projector.
Yes.
And you would hear the thingy, and they would show you these. Yeah, they would show you what was happening to educate the people. So they went into all these little villages to spread the message. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Petra Carbon George expresses it best when she says, precisely, Dr. Wallace, a flood will cause a sudden damage, but a leak can cause the same damage without seeing the result immediately. So I think she expresses that very well. And I do apologize. I cannot take all the comments on the Facebook Live, but Dave Bertrand also says, we are talking about a whole generation. The government has been able to manipulate a whole generation with CWO and bikes and the promise of an airport. So, Alex, yes, go ahead, Alex.
That is not 100% on point, because the young people do not vote.
They don't.
No, they don't vote. The majority of them, though, is say Nuki can vote by is we that traveling from the diaspora to go and fix the vote. It's we that can hold in the vanguard. So the problem is not the young people. The young people are the energy. They are the solution.
Yes.
We are the problem. Those of us who are protected our keeps by being afraid to speak. You can call it music moun ki di mo yo baka parler parce que yo pe pour parler, yo parler bi dibite, le yo dibite yo kay pay di travail, yo kay pay di tel, yo kay gay sa des salary yo, bite pour zafan l'école yo ka voyer l'école. People do not want to speak. If the people who can speak and know that what happened and what should not happen, if they were speaking like Lennox Linton is, and like Thompson Fontaine, like Lambie and others have been speaking, if more voices were speaking, as was done on principle, we would have had a better place. People are whispering saying that somebody doing badly, but Alex, but who next? No, what no? And that's the kind of hypocrisy that has us in the way it is. It's not young people at all. The CWO is good for the people, because if you don't have CWO, to some extent, people will go crazy.
That's been a release for the people.
So it's a little release. So maybe we are knocking the wrong group. We should be knocking the group that is giving the CWO, not the group that CWO in. Because what else to do now? What go crazy then? Yeah, as Dr. Triffy said. And quickly somebody spoke about the use, I think it was Bushman, when we lose our land, man, we lose everything. There should be land use policy in place where you don't sell Dominica land anymore. You list the land to investors and developers for 50 years, 90 years, whatever. You don't buy, just exchange a certificate of title.
Alex, instead, what I heard was that we gave away 25 years to some investors on the geothermal instead of teaching our people to do this.
Oh no.
That's what just happened. Yes, the ridiculousness is compounding.
Ownership of land is our value. Lambie can tell you, Lambie is a landman. Yeah. My grandfather Nibs Alexander, they understand the value of land. When you sell your land and you change ownership of Dominica's land in foreign hands, you have given it up. So
you change the country.
Yeah, so you need a policy in place where, look, no more land sale, we do leases or whatever we want to do, and that land comes back to the people in 100 years' time or whatever time. But for now, I mean, we don't have access to certain beaches now and rivers.
People are not being protected by the onslaught. The onslaught is coming, and there's not much being put in place to safeguard the people. And it is
Yes.
it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yes, and of course, the time runs very quickly on this program. So I want to thank you, Dr. Triffy. I want to thank you, Alex Bruno, for being here as we talked about how are we using our literary works to preserve and advance our culture. And of course, this is part of a broader conversation that we have here on Roots Connections, the importance of our cultural industries and how we are using our cultural industries to create economic opportunities for our people. So whether we are talking about our music, our dance, our cuisine, our herbs, our arts, our language, our creative expression, it's all a part of a broader conversation on the importance of embracing our cultural industries and also what are the economic opportunities that we are missing by not promoting our cultural industry. And I'm also very happy to announce that for the first time in the 40 years that KEC, we all know KEC, the Committee pour Études Creole, for the very first time in the 40 years of their existence, we now have available online Anu Apwan Creole. So I've worked tirelessly. I can't tell you how many times I had to go back and forth with a formatter, a publisher, an editor to get this done. But again, we have to embrace the new opportunities as the world is evolving. So if you're in Dominica, I believe they're working on getting copies to Jay's bookstore. They're currently out of copies there if you're in Dominica, but they're working to get copies there. But now, everyone who's been asking me about materials to learn Creole. Of course, Alex was the one who taught me Creole. He and Noreen Joseph taught me Creole on Facebook Live, and I'm very appreciative of that. But now, everyone, and I want to thank our friend David in Louisiana because he's already gotten his copy. So again, for all the books that we are talking about this evening, I want you to log on to pushpast10.com. They're all available. Just click on the link of the book that you want. Get a copy for yourself. Get a copy for a loved one. It is Christmas. Make some gifts out of the materials that we're using to preserve and advance our culture. I see Derek Peters just joined us. Good evening to you. Our Bouillon legend is with us. Thank you for being here, Mr. Peters. And I also wanted to make sure that before we leave, we share some good news because we've been working with this program for a few years now, and we are grateful for the role that everyone plays in advancing Dominica, and certainly grateful for the platform that Q95 provides for us. So the last time we were here, we had a promotion for an event in Tampa Bay, and we want to tell you that thanks to all your efforts, that event was completely sold out. So what does that mean? That means the Dominica Association of Tampa Bay now has the money to provide scholarships for Dominican students in that area. So what I want us to see is how when we come together, we can do great things. And we have even better news because in October, we were promoting the White Sunset event with the Dominica Civical Alumni Association. You will remember that because we carried it live on Q95 on October 25th during the Creole Festival season. And I want to let you know that because of everyone's effort again and the platform of Q95 that we are so grateful for, after all accounts were settled, listen carefully, after all accounts were settled, we were able to donate $20,000 from one event.
Wow.
We were able to provide $10,000 to Operation Youthquake, and we were able to provide $10,000 to needy students at the Dominica State College because we are also the alumni for the Dominica State College. So I mean, I can stand to be corrected, but I don't believe I've ever heard of another event that has raised $20,000 from one event. So my point here is look at what we can do. You know, at the beginning of this program, I always talk about the role that each one of us can play to advance Dominica. And I think now we're seeing that playing our role, me with media and everybody else on the ground doing what they do, what we're able to accomplish. And you will not believe, in the Dominica Seafocal Alumni Association, we have the leader of the Freedom Party as a member. We have the leader of the UWP as a member. And we have some stalwarts of the Labour Party as members. But yet we are able to set aside those political affiliations and work together for a common purpose where we are able to raise $20,000. So I want to thank everyone who continues to play their roles, who continue to see the bigger vision of what we are able to do beyond political affiliations for the advancements of Dominica. And I certainly want to thank Q95 and Mr. G for giving us this platform, providing this platform so we can get the exposure that these projects and initiatives need to make tangible impact on the lives of Dominica. So Alex, Dr. Truffi, we're quickly running out of time, but I wanted to also give you an opportunity to share some final thoughts this evening.
I will go first. I just want to use this Powerball. Sini Bobo, ini logo. If there's a wound, there's a healer. And your story of what that collaboration was able to do, where we can put our differences aside, find out what the problem is, change our mindsets towards success, collaborate, and solve our problems so we can get to success. Sini Bobo, ini logo. So never fear. Hold on.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Truffi, for being here. Alex, your final thoughts.
Thanks. It was nice. What a country's culture, it keeps evolving. There's something called tradition, which is different from culture, but we must remember that tradition informs our culture. So as much as we evolve, we must maintain our Dominicanness as much as we can. And I wanted to give a little plug before I leave to Mr. G again and Q95 and Lambi. I know Q has a program, Kudos to Our Heroes. I'm not sure whether Lambi has been identified as yet as a hero, but I can give a little bio of Lambi going way back to the 1970s with Fred White and the Hurricane David and the ham radio operation and the works that Lambi had done and continues to do. So Mr. G, if you're looking for a hero, if you're a little scarce on heroes, consider Lambi, because I think he deserves the mention. Lambi has been going at it ordinarily, not a politician, not any high-profile person, but Lambi is a significant name in Dominica's culture. I had to do that for Lambi tonight because I have been telling his son, Carlos, over and over about it, but I want to make it public today that I think Lambi should be considered for some kudos because he has been at it for the better part of 50 years, man. More maybe. So that's what I want to do tonight.
Yes, thank you, Alex. So as a member of the Kudos to Our Heroes Committee, I second your nomination. And during our next meeting, I will be more than happy to remind our committee of the importance of recognizing Lambi for all the contributions he has made to Dominica. So again, thank you for joining us for our #1 program for showcasing the people projects. Guys, just mute your mic 1 quick second for me. So thank you for joining us for our #1 program for showcasing our people projects and initiatives, which are geared towards moving Dominica forward, especially as it relates to securing financial opportunities. You know, so many of us are doing different things in different parts of the world. So this is our platform to come and get the promotion and the exposure as long as you are working to advance Dominica. So again, if you would like to contact me because you're working on something along those lines, you can always email me at pushpast10@gmail.com. pushpast10 And I want to continue to thank everyone who continues to reach out to me, because again, we keep fighting these battles, but the financial aspect of moving Dominica forward is where I think sometimes we might be lacking, because when people are financially independent, they can make other important decisions. Remember to follow Q95 FM radio and Push Past 10 on Facebook for all the ways we continue to collaborate and advance Dominica. Again, thank you to our guests. I want to hear from you if you're working on anything important. So again, tonight we discuss how we are using our literary works to preserve and advance our culture and to advance us as a people, especially for the benefit of the next generation. So we will be back on your radio. We will be back in your company on December 27th, which is after Christmas. So as you can see, I'm wearing my red for Christmas to wish you happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Thank you to our audience who listened. Thank you, Lambi, for taking the phone call, showing, and DJ Shan, everyone who made a contribution on Facebook. I want to say thank you for being here, guys. You can unmute your mic as we say farewell to the audience. Thank you for being here. Have yourself a restful night. Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Bye.
Good night.
It,
Jah Rastafari. Home, oh, oh, children, home. Wanna go home, home. Oh, yes, children, home. Got to go, yeah. We've been trodden from tendencies right on through revelation. We've been a subject to master's feet. So we wanna go, yeah. We are a people enslaved and sold, scattered through the earth. Jacob is calling his children, pay the price, so we wanna go. Oh, children, home. Oh, to Zion, oh, wanna go, take me there, home. Oh, to Zion, oh, wanna go, yeah. We've been trodden from Genesis through revelation. We've been a subject to master's feet. So we wanna go. Oh, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, and Zebulun, Isaac, God and Asher, Naphtali, Joseph, and Benjamin. We're Christ, so we want to go. Oh, children, home. Oh, to Zion, oh, I wanna go. Oh, children, home. Oh, take me home. Oh, I wanna go. Yeah.